Watching news at Prime, let me just warn you before we bring you this story that it does contain some graphic details. Kamogelo Eunice Boikanyo's family has used her funeral to call for justice following her murder. The 25-year-old from Koster, this is in the Northwest Province, was allegedly killed by her ex-boyfriend, who is said to have violated a protection order. She was stabbed 14 times in the neck last Monday. Kamogelo's uncle, Hans Boikanyo, says her death has left a huge void.
We are so devastated. We are broken. We've cried a lot. The younger brother and the younger sister, now and then they are asking, where is our sister? What happened? Every time you look around, you just hoping to see her face approaching. It was a very bubbling, loving girl.
Staying with this story, the Boikanyo family is demanding justice.
The only thing we want is for this guy to stay behind bars. He deserves to rot in jail. The manner in which he stabbed her, it's every time I'm trying to look. I was called when this incident took place. It was around between 10 past and 20 past 7 in the morning, because other kids, smaller kids, were going to the primary site. They also witnessed this. Now, when I was called in around 7:30, when I arrived there, the state she was in, blood from her head to the toes. So just the only thing that the family is looking for is justice. This guy must rot in jail. That's what he deserves, because he violated a protection order. Our child wanted to do nothing with him, and then he decided to take our precious flower from us just to fulfill, I don't know what he was trying to fulfill, but the only place he doesn't deserve to live is among us.
Well, let's stay with this tragic story, and we're joined now by the Northwest Acting Police Commissioner, Dr. Ryno Naidoo. Dr. Naidoo, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. A protection order was in place against the suspect in this murder. How are protection orders enforced by police? Let's start there.
Yes, I would like to just clarify that aspect. The victim in this matter had just applied for a protection order, which was not yet issued by the court. She had approached the police indicating that she was being harassed by her ex-person that she was in a relationship previously, and he did not want to end it. And then she was assisted with the application for a protection order. She was in court with the clerk of court who dealt with the matter. The process was not yet finalized when the particular incident occurred. The matter was still at court. However, the question that you asked in terms of the protection order, when a protection order is issued by a court, it's issued together with a warrant of arrest in terms of the Domestic Violence Act. And this then empowers the victim, should an incident occur, to immediately approach the police, to inform the police that, look, there is a protection order in place and there is a violation of this protection order by the perpetrator. And the police are obliged to immediately execute that warrant and bring that perpetrator before a court to be dealt with going forward. There are other arrangements which the Domestic Violence Act makes, where the two parties are still sharing a domestic arrangement. The Domestic Violence Act also makes provision for a monitoring tool to help protect the victim, to ensure that there's oversight and there's no breach of the protection order in spite of the living arrangements which are still shared.
Yeah.
So we are dependent a lot on the complainant informing us timelessly. But should a complainant without a protection order come to a police station and indicate that there's been a case of domestic violence, assault, fear for their life, the police can, even without a warrant, immediately on opening a case, effect an arrest and bring that party before a court for adjudication.
Yeah. It does appear, just based on your explanation, that a lot rests with the complainant, or in this particular case, the victim. And so I'd like for us to just take a few steps back based on what you've said. You said that a protection order had been applied for, but had not yet been finalized. Do police have to wait for the courts to finalize matters before they can issue a protection order, before they can take steps against the person whom the complaint is against?
No, as I indicated to you, firstly, that the SAPS does not issue protection orders, but it is a party to ensuring compliance with the Domestic Violence Act. The protection orders are issued by the courts. However, should a complainant approach us and inform us of a domestic violence that has occurred or imminent danger to their life, the police is obliged to act and assist that person should the case be presented. And for that purpose, the police has put in place a number of guidelines, including in terms of the Domestic Violence Act, in compliance with the Domestic Violence Act, putting a comprehensive national instruction to guide our members on how to handle the complaints that we receive and ensure compliance with the law. Secondly, as part of the Domestic Violence Action Plan, the SAPS has established in all the community service centers a fast lane where a member of the public or community who wishes to report domestic violence may go directly to a point. They do not have to queue. They do not have to wait. They go directly to a particular point, which is clearly demarcated in the community service center, and make the report so that police action can be dealt with immediately. And we've also put other protocols in place. Should they not receive the attention they should, it can be escalated so that we can deal with it through a service complaint process, etc., and deal with the members who have not complied with these instructions. So on one side, the SAPS does not issue protection orders. We implement the instructions of the protection order, but should there be a serious situation, the police officer may exercise their discretion and deal with that matter prior to going to court.
As you said a little earlier, you depend a lot on the complainant to come forward and tell you, the police, that they are experiencing either violence at the hands of this person or it possibly may be harassment. In this particular case, the person here would have clearly mounted what appears to be some kind of surveillance on the victim until such time that he was able to carry out the act. There is not much that the victim could do, because what happened here is that he walks up to her in full view of the public. Even children are said to have witnessed what happened here. Children that were going to school, they witnessed this. So I'm trying to probe this element, Acting Commissioner, of the victim or the complainant being relied upon by the police to say something or do something before something happens to them. In this instance, there's nothing that the victim could do because the person is here and now. And so that's the basis of my question, that why do police have to depend on the complainant in order to act? Once a person approaches the station and says, there's a problem, should that not be the basis upon which you act?
Exactly, yes. And as I indicated to you, should the complainant approach the police and inform us of a very serious situation where they require police support, we do it. In this particular case, the victim did indicate that she was being harassed by the ex, who did not want to terminate the relationship. At that stage, there was no indication of violence or any of that case.
So let me just ask, let me just stop you there, Acting
Yes.
Commissioner. So are you
Yes.
saying that the complainant, who is now deceased, did not open a case against this person in the first place?
No, there was no criminal case open. She was merely seeking a restraining order from harassment. Hence, the process was running at the court to secure that particular protection order. And with that protection order, obviously, we would have executed it. And another thing, Tori, is that it does not have to be the victim themselves that reports this matter to the police or the authorities. It can be any member of the community, family, neighbors, anybody who becomes aware that there's some domestic violence or there's some threat to a victim. They may bring that to the attention of the police, and the police is obliged to attend to that matter. Unfortunately, in this case, it was just the victim who came to complain of the harassment, which the process was running. But I hear what you're saying, and in so many cases, this is what happens. Even with a protection order in place, we've had cases where victims have become fatal victims in these relationships because of the non-acceptance by perpetrators of domestic violence. Yes, we have to look at that beyond the court orders and beyond the criminal cases. We have to look at how we're going to protect these victims in their daily lives, because they are not with police or other safety mechanisms on a 24-hour basis.
Sure. It's a difficult one because, as you've explained, you rely heavily on the complainants to tell you almost instantaneously, and there is almost no active participation on the side of the police. So what would be your guidance to members of the public, particularly those that are experiencing this as we speak? Is it to immediately open a case against the person who is doing the harassment and or possibly violating their space before or whilst the protection order is still being processed in court, just so that they have something in place to disallow the person that is violating them to stop?
Dolly, yes. We run education campaigns. It's not the SAPS alone who is the department that's dealing with this matter. We have many of our partner departments, and we jointly run throughout the year education campaigns to educate the public as to what to do and when, and what are the signs and what are the options, because there are, even among our sister departments, various options to provide safety for people in domestic violence situations. So, but what you say in terms of the situation, yes, as soon as they have fears, concerns, even if it's not to open a case, but to seek advice on how to deal with the matter, how to approach it. And it's not only the SAPS, we work together with social workers and experts from various departments who are able to provide sound advice to victims or people in these situations, so that they can make some decisions in terms of it. Quite often we find that even after securing protection orders, the victims continue contacts, and then we have several incidents. So we need to educate victims of their rights, what they can do, when they can do. And the whole Domestic Violence Act is there to provide a safe haven for people who are in domestic violence situation. So my advice to people who are not certain how to deal with this thing, or who need some guidance in terms of their circumstances, is to approach the SAPS as well as our sister departments like the Department of Social Development, who have got experts, can advise and guide on how they can handle their respective situations. And that's the best way, proactive. Hence, we are doing jointly with all the other departments public education so that people can understand there are many avenues. Some of them don't want to leave their domestic situation for various reasons, economic or whatever, the children, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But these things tend to perpetuate the situation. And this is why the departments jointly can advise and support these victims on making certain decisions to prevent the fatal consequences that we are seeing.
Dr. Ryno Naidoo is the Northwest Acting Police Commissioner. Thank you very much for your time.